Well, I just want to ask you a little about what you do
Yeah,
and how you're working to control the Arundo Donax
sure.
and protect the native species.
Sure. So I work for the City of Austin Watershed Protection Department, and one of the projects we have is trying to get rid of Arundo Donax on the shores of Lady Bird Lake, with the idea that when we get those plants, when we remove those plants, we're going to either let native plants just regrow naturally on their own, which we call passive restoration, or depending on the funding and the particular patch where we get rid of the Arundo, we may be able to actually come back in and plant native plants. The issue there being we would probably have to have some kind of irrigation system, especially in the middle of this drought. So we don't want to plant plants that aren't going to survive. But so the first step in that project was first to map the Arundo, find out where it all was, and we used actually Lady Bird Johnson's Citizen Scientist Program. They went out on the hike and bike trail, and some people went out in kayaks with their little GPS units, and they logged in where they found these plants, and then they created a map. We created a map from that, and we went out and used the map and ground truthed and said, yes, this dot really is Arundo, or no, they got that wrong, it's Johnson grass, and created a good, accurate map. Then in the middle of August, we had a crew of people from American Youth Works who went out and started cutting the Arundo down to the ground with the idea that we would let it grow to about 4 feet, especially in areas that are really close to the hike and bike trail, because we wanted to spray herbicide on the plants, and we didn't want to spray herbicide on 20-foot tall plants if people are going to be jogging by right underneath the plants. And so when it was right next to the hike and bike trail, we had our crews cut the plants, let it regrow. If it was in an area that had no hike and bike trail around, like right by I-35, or there's an area over by the old Holly power plant that has no public access, we left those plants tall and we sprayed them the full length of the plant. The idea being the more herbicide you can put on the plant while it's growing, especially in the fall when it's pulling all its nutrients down into the roots to try and survive over the winter, you're kind of tricking it into pulling those herbicides down into the roots as well. And so it's a biological system, and there's always surprises. Things didn't behave exactly the way we thought they would. Some of the plants didn't grow very quickly, we think probably because of the drought. And so when we went to spray herbicides, some of the plants were 4 feet tall, some of them were only maybe 1.5 feet or 2 feet tall. And then, like I said, we did spray some that were full-grown 20 feet tall. And so we're really looking forward to seeing what the regrowth will be like this spring. Arundo typically looks like it's winter killed every winter, where the plants will turn brown, and you think, oh good, the plant's dead, but the new sprouts come up every year from the roots.
Problem with a perennial.
Yeah, exactly, it's a perennial. And so we're watching it now, and we're keeping an eye on what the plants look like, and we're starting to see some plants turning yellow and looking like they're getting hit by the herbicide, but we won't really know till next spring what kind of regrowth we have. And at that point, we'll reevaluate and decide, we probably will have to go back and do some additional herbicide spraying. We're hoping there's going to be some patches where we've been able to get control this first year, but most of the people you talk to say when you go after Arundo, it's like a 3 to 5 year thing. It's going to take and we may never completely get rid of it, but we're hoping that if we stay on top of it and immediately start planting native plants, even in areas where we know we have to go back and respray the Arundo, we're using a chemical called a Mazamox, which you can find on the web just under the brand name of Clearcast. And it's really, I'm not a big fan of herbicide because I do organic gardening, and I don't use herbicides or pesticides at home. But when you're tackling something like Arundo, it's really one of the only ways that you can get rid of it. And this chemical is really selective. It is very has no impact to most hardwood trees. And so since a lot of Arundo where we have the Arundo, a lot of it grows mixed in with other trees, and it sort of mixes in and comes up through the canopy, we didn't want to spray it with a chemical that might kill the trees. And so we should be able to come back even next spring and do sort of a cleanup effort and spray some of those plants that are regrowing, but maybe hopefully still get some native plants planted or let new native plants come in on their own. So Yeah, well, you have caught me at the beginning of this project, which is really pretty exciting, because, you know, maybe we can keep in touch, and we'll put it on, we've got a website that has some stuff about Arundo, and so you can kind of keep track of it there. We'll try and post information about how the project is going as time goes on, and yeah, it's all part of trying to restore and improve Lady Bird Lake's riparian areas.
Now, slightly going off the path of
Sure.
Arundo, I hear the same problem you have, or perhaps not you, but others have the same problem with golden bamboo, right?
Yeah, they're related. I'm not much of an expert with golden bamboo, but they're both a type of grass. And the problem with golden bamboo, or most bamboos, is that I think Arundo has sort of fallen out of favor. People typically don't plant it on purpose anymore. Bamboo is still seen as sort of this quick way to get a nice visual screen from your neighbors, and it looks a little, you know, it's different than just a tree or a typical Texas shrub, so it's a little exotic looking. People still like to plant it. But yeah, I think bamboo, and we have a little bit of bamboo on Lady Bird Lake as well. Yeah, and it's one of this project is kind of this is a smaller piece of a bigger project where we're going to try and work on, over the years, trying to control all the invasive plants that are growing on the shore of Lady Bird.
Take them down.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
thank you very much.
You're welcome.